In this final section, we're going to discuss water pollutants and the dangers of polluted water. Water pollution occurs when any artificial products are in water. These artificial products, which in this context are known as pollutants or contaminants, includes organics and inorganic chemicals, pathogens, infectious microorganisms, and macroscopic objects such as trash, shipwrecks, plastics, and other objects. Water pollution is a global problem. Water pollution occurs in freshwater sources throughout the world. While developing countries struggle with finding the means of controlling acute water pollution, more developed countries also struggle with water pollution. In the United States, 44% of streams, 64% of lakes, and 30% of bays were classified as polluted. Generally, the vast oceans are not as polluted as freshwater sources. There may be surface pollution, but because they are so deep and vast, most of the ocean is not polluted. Rising acidity in the ocean. Although pollution in the ocean is not as acute as it is in freshwater sources, there is concern for how industrialization has affected the ocean's pH. As industrialization has increased in the past 200 years, more of the greenhouse gas CO2 has been released into the atmosphere. The ocean absorbs around 30% of this CO2. Dissolved carbon dioxide, CO2, forms carbonic acid, which releases hydrogen ions into the water, lowering the pH and increasing the acidity. You can see in this reaction the formation of this carbonic acid and the release of hydrogen ions into the water. Rising acidity in the ocean affects many types of marine life. Shelled mollusks are not able to deposit calcium into their shells because carbonate ions interfere. In addition, a lower pH will make the shells thinner. You can see that happening in the image below on how the changes in the ocean pH will affect the shells of these mollusks. Point sources of pollution. Point sources of pollution release contaminants into water through a single source, such as from a factory, a sewage treatment plant, or a storm drain. In addition to the wastes dumped into water from factories, water that runs over the street collects pollutants on the street, including chemicals from automobile exhausts and oils. This water is collected into storm drains that are often directed to larger bodies of water. Non-point sources of pollution. Non-point sources of pollution cannot be attributed to a single source. Rather, this kind of pollution comes from contaminants over a large area. A common example of non-point pollution is the leaching out of nitrogen-containing compounds from fertilized farming fields. Another example is the accumulation of phosphates, also found in fertilizers, but also from dishwasher and laundry detergents, as well as other cleaning products. Phosphates collect from residential areas where people use these cleaning products and end up in streams and lakes.